When you think of Angkor Wat, you probably picture these magnificent ancient ruins, right? But what if it was something more? What if it was actually a piece of incredibly advanced technology? A machine built from stone, water, and belief, designed to power an entire civilization. Let's dig in. There's this one description of Angkor that just nails it. It was a structure that reorganized land, water, and belief. I mean, just think about that for a second. This wasn't just a building people looked at. No, it was an active force, literally reshaping the world around it. So that's really the big question we're tackling here. How on earth did a monument of faith and art also function as this complex, incredibly powerful machine? What was it actually designed to do? And more importantly, how did it work? Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. We're talking about a monument built on a level that, frankly, the world had never seen before. So let's get the basics down. To this day, Angkor Wat is the world's largest religious monument. And get this, it was built in a crazy short amount of time back in the 12th century, in what is now Cambodia, by a king named Suryavarman II. It started out as a temple to the Hindu god Vishnu, but later on it became a Buddhist site. But, these simple facts don't even begin to tell the real story. Because, you see, those facts just don't capture what was really going on. Angkor Wat was never meant to be a passive monument, just something to admire. No way. It was designed to work. It was an active, functional machine with all these interconnected parts. So let's break this machine down, starting with its first major function. Think of Angkor Wat as a kind of giant stone time machine, a device that was capable of tracking the heavens with absolutely incredible precision. Now, to get how it worked, we got to talk about the equinox. This happens twice a year, when the sun is perfectly aligned over the equator. And what that means is that day and night are almost exactly the same length. Now, if you're an agricultural society, knowing this exact moment is everything. It tells you when to plant, when to harvest. It dictates the entire rhythm of life. And the Khmer engineers used this celestial event with absolute genius. The entire massive complex is oriented so that on this spring equinox, the sun rises directly over the top of the central tower. It would have been this breathtaking spectacle that turned a giant stone structure into a perfect solar calendar. It literally locked the entire kingdom into the rhythm of the cosmos. But tracking time? That was only one part of the machine's job. Its next function was arguably even more critical, and that was mastering the monsoon. This is where Angkor Wat became a gigantic water machine. Say, if you wanted to build an empire in this part of the world, you had to solve one huge problem: the climate. It's a land of brutal extremes. In the wet season, you get a total deluge of monsoon rain, causing these catastrophic floods. But then, in the dry season, you're facing crippling drought and a desperate lack of water. Survival, let alone building a huge civilization, really depended on taming this wild cycle. And their solution was nothing short of ingenious. The Khmer built one of the most sophisticated hydraulic engineering systems of the ancient world. The concept itself was pretty simple, but the execution was just immense. First, you capture all that monsoon rain. Second, you store it in these massive man-made reservoirs called barrays. And third, you distribute that water all through the dry season using a massive network of canals. This system wasn't just for survival. It allowed for multiple rice harvests a year, which sustained a population of up to 1 million people. So, okay, we've got a time machine and a water machine, both operating on this colossal scale. But there was a third, almost metaphysical layer to all this. This was the temple's function as a cosmic machine, a map of the universe itself, built right here on Earth. Because, for all its practical brilliance, this machine was so much more than stone and water. It was a profound act of faith, designed to literally reflect the heavens and bring cosmic order down to the kingdom. And the blueprint for this cosmic map was a concept called Mount Meru. In both Hindu and Buddhist beliefs, Mount Meru isn't a real mountain you can go climb. It's a mythical, 5-peaked mountain that stands at the absolute center of all universes. It's the home of the gods, the axis around which everything else in existence revolves. So what the builders of Angkor Wat did was create a miniature, physical replica of this cosmic model. Its 5 main towers, those represent the 5 peaks of Mount Meru. And that huge moat surrounding the whole complex, that symbolizes the mythical oceans at the edge of the world. By building this, the king wasn't just putting up a temple. He was creating a heaven on earth and placing his kingdom at the very center of a divinely ordered universe. It was an incredible system, a machine designed for absolute control over time, water, and even the cosmos. But what happens when a machine like that faces a problem it wasn't built for? And that brings us to the moment the machine broke, revealing the very real limits of that control. And here's the central paradox of Angkor's design. The very thing that made the whole system so powerful, its incredibly intricate engineering for total stability and control, that was also its greatest weakness. It was perfectly tuned for a very specific set of conditions, which made it completely rigid and inflexible. So, when the climate suddenly became wildly unpredictable, with these intense, prolonged droughts followed by unusually massive monsoons, that highly tuned machine it couldn't adapt. It couldn't cope. The delicate balance was broken, and that complex system of canals and reservoirs, which was once the lifeblood of the empire, it failed. And that led to the gradual decline and, eventually, the abandonment of this great city. The story of Angkor Wat is fascinating, but it leaves us with this powerful and, I think, pretty urgent question. We've also built our own great civilizational machines, global supply chains, our power grids, financial markets, all of them tuned for stability and predictability. And the story of Angkor really forces us to ask, what happens when our great systems face stresses they weren't designed for and can no longer adapt?